All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guns and Brews. I'm sorry I haven't been able to post in the last couple weeks. I've been pretty sick. I lost my voice, but finally my voice is coming back, and I'm finally going to be able to put out another video. So today we're going to be talking about everyday carry, and hopefully we're going to be able to answer a lot of those questions that a lot of you out there might have. I know when I first started carrying, I had a lot of these questions, and I had to do a lot of research to figure out what worked for me. So when it comes to everyday carry, what a lot of people don't realize is it can be quite uncomfortable. So it's going to take some time for you to realize what works for you and what doesn't, and just doing a lot of trial and error with certain things. But we're going to address certain products that works for us, and hopefully it'll also work for you guys. I know there's a lot of people that get their CCWs and then they start carrying, but unfortunately, just because it is very uncomfortable, they get discouraged, and then they don't carry as often as they want to, or they just don't carry at all. But hopefully we'll be able to help you guys and guide you guys in the right way to make that everyday carry more comfortable for you so that you can carry as often as you guys want to. So things that we're going to address today is going to be belts, holsters, and then what techniques we use when we first put our firearm on, and then other things like making driving more comfortable, things that we take into consideration when we're driving, as well as how to get in and out of the vehicle, and when we go to restaurants, how we can sit down and have that big chunk of metal in our stomach or wherever it is that you choose to carry more comfortably.
So when it comes to EDC carries, one of the things I think at the forefront is the size of your gun, right? Are you going to be carrying something that's subcompact, compact, or are you going to be crazy and be carrying something that's going to be full frame? Depending on what you're carrying, right? Obviously that changes how comfortable or how to adjust the holsters, as well as the holster itself. Now you're going to see here, it's going to be a wide variety of different holster styles. You can look at the different clips, wings, some without a wing, and then the difference in the clip setup, right? Some that are going to be plastic, some that are going to be metal, and that changes retention, it changes printing, and it changes, I guess, the durability of the holster itself. So I want to start off by showing you that these firearms are not loaded. There are no mags, right? So they're safe to operate. One of the things that I take into consideration is where I'm going and the type of environment and the time of day, right? Some of my guns, you'll notice, have a light, and other ones do not, right? And that's going to change the overall size factor of the holster. That's going to make it a little bit easier to conceal. I don't have to worry so much about printing and then weight as well. Some of these other firearms will have a light, right? And obviously it makes it a little bulkier, makes it a little harder to conceal, and it's going to get a little bit of the way if you're driving with it or if you're sitting down, right? One thing to consider is the wing, right? Are you going to be how aggressive you want that wing to be and how much it's going to push off of your belt to reduce some of that printing? And then are you going to want the extra mag caddy, right? This setup is great, especially in times when it's cold. If you have a jacket, it makes it a little bit easier to conceal. You don't have to worry about printing. On here, this was kind of a setup that I went with a couple of years ago, the Neomag Alias setup. The idea behind this, it's going to be pretty modular, and then it also allows you to quickly change different holster setups if you're going to be using different guns. It also allows you to use some of their other attachments if you want to have it holstered on a car, on a desk, and then, or something like this, right? Where it allows you to grab onto, let's say, a sweatpants, running shorts, something that typically wouldn't have the belt loops to have a belt too. So on the topic of sportswear, one of the setups that I have found that works best with different styles of clips is going to be the Arrowhead Tactical shorts. I use these just about every single day. I'm the kind of person that doesn't really like to wear pants unless I have to. So I found this to be excellent option to be able to be comfortable and conceal, be able to move around, not worry about it kind of shifting or bouncing when I'm like going upstairs, or if I have to kind of, do some random jumping jacks. So far it's worked with every type of holster that I have. I'll kind of show you what that looks like once you're wearing it. Of course, once it's on, you'll notice it doesn't really move much. And the reason why it works so well is because of the Omni Carry belt that it has that's set up inside to reduce unnecessary printing. It also allows for quick adjustability to be able to get the right fit to where it's not too snug and is comfortable when you're sitting down, driving around, doing whatever it is that you need to do. Now, when it comes to holsters, a couple of different brands that we have here. We have Tenacor, we have Toolster, we have We the People, we have Tier 1. A couple of different styles, right? Some a little bit stiffer than others. Love the Tenacor, love the fit. I will say that these clips are pretty rough on the belt. Depending on the type of belt you're running, these will kind of eat up at that belt. I'm running the Core Essentials belt, and it's holding up just fine. But I have seen reviews for other belts where it kind of just eats up at that. So something to keep in mind. Here's just a random cheap holster that I had grabbed for one of my Staccatos. It was kind of a bit of an emergency. But with these styles, really easy to come in to put on and take off. The problem with it is depending on the belt, it may not clip right and you might have some issues when you're drawing out. But this is, again, just a case of an emergency. But to some people, it works. They love it. They love how quickly you can take it on and off if you're in the car or if you kind of just need to move some stuff around. Another thing you might want to consider is the camming belt when it comes to the holsters. Depending on the brand that you go with, they'll include different heights. And you'll notice I got a thick one on here, thick one on this one as well. So the camming bar, once it's inside of your belt, the camming bar is actually going to be pressing up against that belt. Now, what that does is, depending on the height, right, it's going to press up heavily against that belt, and that's going to help with printing issues because it's going to have the magwell kind of sit a little further back, press up against your body. Now, you also want to consider is how comfortable that thing's going to be, right? So depending on the type of style, how you dress, the shirt, the fit, all that stuff, that's all taken into consideration when you're adjusting that camming belt. And they're pretty easy to take on and off. It's usually just one or two screws that allowed you to change that over, okay?
All right, so when I first come in the mornings or when I'm getting ready to go out to anywhere and I'm gonna carry, the first thing that I do is I obviously have my belt on. I'm gonna then grab the holster that I want, make sure that I have a fully loaded mag, and then I'm gonna attach it onto my belt, okay? I pull my firearm off, make sure that I have a mag in it. I chamber check to see whether I have a round or not, depending on how I want to carry it. But I always want to make sure that I know the status of my firearm at all times. And then I go ahead and place it on my holster. So at this time, I have a Tier 1 concealed with the extra mag carrier. And I think that it's pretty comfortable. So something that I do to increase that comfort is I move my holster just a little bit to the side, and in doing so, it's going to sit right on that pocket where your leg meets your hip, and that's where my main firearm is going to sit. That way, if I have it centered too much, where my firearm is right in the center of my belly button, it's pushing up against this bone and it's extremely uncomfortable. So I found moving it to the side just helps that a lot more. I also adjusted these clips to allow this holster to sit as high up as possible. One, so that it's not pressing up against that bone, and two, so that when I reach up, I have a clear opening where I can grab that firearm and pull it out if I need to. Another thing when it comes to belts, since I carry in the appendix carry, if you notice, I don't have my belt buckle in the center. So what I do is I move my belt buckle to the side so that it doesn't interfere with these clips. And also I put it right a little bit forward from my hip bone so that it's not directly hitting that bone and uncomfortable. This is just a regular 511 belt used for concealed carry. I used to carry with the Core Essentials belt, but one, that belt buckle was just way too uncomfortable for me on the side. And then the rigidness of the belt I didn't really like, so I went with something a little bit more elastic, but it still holds very well. And I have no problems with both imprinting and retention of the holster. All right, so another common area where it's really uncomfortable to carry is while you're in the sitting down position. And one of the main places that we're sitting down and carrying is gonna be in our vehicle. So I'm gonna show you what works for me in getting in and out of the car, how I make it more comfortable in longer drives, and then also the things that or techniques that I do with my seatbelt and my shirt just to make it a little bit easier, more comfortable to carry, and then also a little bit easier to draw in the event that I would have to. So getting into the vehicle itself, like once I'm in this position, it's pretty uncomfortable because it's just pushing up against my stomach. At this point, I'm not too concerned with people looking at my movements and seeing that I'm carrying because I'm kind of blocked by the door. But I'm still conscious with the people that are around me. But as I come in, I'll grab my belt itself and then I'll pull up. And so if you see what happens when I do that is I grab it out and pull up, and now that raises my firearm up, and it's not in the area where I bend, so it's not making it harder to put it on. So in real time as I go in, I'll show you what it looks like. I kind of come in, pull it up, and now I can easily get into the truck or a car or whatever. So now that I'm in the car itself, I have three different options. Either the first one is I completely remove it and I put it in the center console or on the side of the door. That's if I'm doing a really long drive and I just don't want to have it there. Um, Other companies also have adapters where you can put it under the steering wheel and you can just unholster and attach it. I don't have one of those yet, but if you're a company and you want to send it over to me, go ahead and I'll review it. So the second option that I do is I grab whatever article of clothing that I have and I tuck it behind, and that just creates a nice comfortable barrier behind the firearm itself so that it's not just riding up against and really uncomfortable. When I do that, I grab my seatbelt, I put it on, and now if you see, the seatbelt itself is tucked underneath my firearm. So if I ever had to draw out, there's nothing that's obstructing it, and I can quickly do that. Another option is just getting the seatbelt itself and putting it completely behind the firearm, and that's another way to easily access your firearm without any obstructions. Now, if let's say that I have little kids in the car or something and I don't want them to see my firearm just completely out, what I do is I tuck the seatbelt underneath and then pull my shirt out and over the seatbelt. So the seatbelt isn't holding my shirt down. So if I had to draw, I don't have to pull that material out to get to it. I simply have the seatbelt down, put my shirt over, and now I can just grab it, pull it out, and draw if I had to. All right, so if this is the setup that you decide to do, just something to keep into consideration is if a police officer pulls you over, just make sure you go ahead and untuck your shirt and cover that exposed firearm so that when he comes up to your window, that is not the first thing that he sees. But driving around, this is normally what I typically do. I just have it like this, and it just creates a sweat barrier. It's more comfortable, and I can honestly drive like this for a really long time. I hardly ever take off my holster when I'm driving, and I just leave it in this position because I hardly really even feel it. It's not even pushing up against any bones down here or up against my hip, and I can easily draw out. So that's just my preferred method. All right, so you reach your destination. What I do now is as I'm getting out, now I do care because I'm in public, so I don't want to just expose my firearm. So before I even get out of the car, I go ahead and I cover it up, okay? When I get out, you're going to notice that it's still printing pretty bad because it's raising up high, but I'm going to show you how to adjust it. So I get out, and I typically point into my vehicle so that I have my back out and then they're not seeing what I'm doing. But if you notice, this is what I'm talking about. It's printing pretty bad. So what I do is I put my hands in my pockets and I pull my belt out and down, okay? And so if you notice, now I'm not printing, okay? Because I was able to pull that firearm down and away from, it bending out. And so if I need to adjust any more, I just simply put my hands in my pockets and I either go up a little bit or a little bit down, whatever is more comfortable. All right, so now that you're ready, you're not printing, you're comfortable, you can go ahead and run whatever errand it is that you want to run. In this case, I'm going to go get some coffee because I haven't had any coffee yet.